All right, in this video, we're going to move on to a different piece of stationery, and we're going to have a look at creating in Onshape the board pen, board marker. So that's what it looks like when it's done. It's been taken from this board pen, which I've sort of conveniently removed the label off it, so it looks a little bit more realistic. I was kind of hoping that we might be able to wrap the label, which I've scanned. I thought we might be able to wrap it around, but you can do that in other CAD programs. But at the moment, you can't do that in Onshape, which is a bit of a shame. So hopefully Onshape will get their act together and allow that feature so that you can wrap graphics around. But for the time being, we're going to keep it as it is. And there is another video that shows you how you can use vector graphics, vector logos that we've got online in the classroom to extrude. And if we've got time, I may even show you how to do that on this particular one. It's actually quite simple. It looks quite complex, this board pen, but it's actually quite simple. So what you're going to need, I've got a printed out sheet with the drawing on it, because what you're going to need is this information here. In particular, this sketch with all the dimensions on it, all right? Because basically to create that board marker, it's just one simple side profile or halfway profile of the marker, and then revolved around using a revolving tool. So is this sort of 2D graphic that we need to try and copy. If you've got access to the slides, then bring up the slides. If you want to, like me, use it from a printed sheet of paper, then that might be quite useful. So here goes, let's get cracking. All right, in Onshape, you're going to make yourself a new part, a new document. Call it board pen and lid, or in this case specifically, edding board pen and lid. So I'm going to imagine that that is a new part, so a new tab down here. All right, so Part Studio 1, we can. Now this is going to come in two parts. This video probably is only going to cover the first part, which is the pen. The other one is going to be a lid. So first thing you want to do is to rename, instead of Part Studio 1, call it the pen. I'm actually going to call mine board pen, just so I don't get it confused with any other different types of markers or pens that we might draw. Plus, as well, I've already got a tab here called pen, so board pen is what I'm going to go for. Right, so the order for this, a lot of things that we've drawn so far have been on the top work plane, because we want to sort of build this facing us, oriented that way around. We're actually going to draw this on the front work plane and sketch on that. So we click on that and then sketch. And what's really helpful is to right click and either view normal to sketch plane, or if you know that you're drawing on the front plane, then you can click on the front view. But I always like to do view normal to sketch plane because it flattens out. So you're looking directly down at whatever sketch you're working on. Right. I'm going to consult my diagram. So we're going to use the line tool. The only two tools we need to draw this is going to be the line and the sketch fillet, which we'll look at after. So the line tool, starting from the bottom, we are going to go click and up and basically make like a sort of rectangle like that. Right, so the width of this is going to be 8.5 millimeters wide, and we'll use the dimension tool to create a height of 129 length. Right, so that's that. Now then, there's a few more bits that we need to do. So starting at the bottom bit's a bit more easy. We're going to do, where is the drawing? The drawing's over here. So you can see what we've got is a step up by, I think, 4 millimeters, and there's a little gap at 1.5 millimeters. So this is what that looks like. Again, using your line tool, start somewhere in here. So just go up, click, and across, click. And to stop drawing, you need to press the escape button. And then we use the dimension tool again. And this short distance is going to be 1.5 Okay, and then this line here is going to be 4mm. So it looks like that, and there's a little bit of snipping to do now. So use the snipping tool, and we'll snip that line and snip that line. All right, now we've lost one of my measurements, so I'll probably want to put that back on. That was the overall width, 8.5. So it goes up by 4, and we've got that little notch in there by 1.5. Let's just double check that on our drawing. Yeah, so there's 4 there, 1.5 there. All right, it's a little bit small, you can't quite see it. Now then, next bit. There's some measurements at the top which are quite difficult to read. And it hasn't come out particularly well on my printer either. So I'm going to very quickly look at my other computer. There we go. Right. So what we've got at the top here, if you can't see it particularly well, it's quite easy because 1, 2, 3, all of these are 6mm. We can see all the rest, but this 1, 2, 3 here are all 6mm. So let's get on with drawing those. Right, so we're at the top end. So I'm going to pan all the way up to the top. And then from there, we're going to use that line tool again and start, I think, sort of somewhere about here and go click. We want it to be perfectly vertical at this point. Doesn't matter how long, but click. Now actually that measurement there should be 1.5, so we can type that in 1.5, enter, and then we're going up. Now that measurement there, I believe, is 2. So we've gone up, type in 2, like that. Now, let's zoom in a bit so we can see what we're doing. So we've gone across by 1.5, up by 2. This one's going to be at a slight angle. Now, what we want to try and make sure that we're not doing is locking onto any other measurements that's going to cause us to have constraints that we don't need. So just draw it at an angle so it's not locking onto anything. Click, and then straight up. Click. This distance here is actually going to be 6. Doesn't matter if it looks a bit weird at this stage, and it's gone off the page. And then we're going to go in by what looks like 1.5. Yeah, there we go. So then we're going to go in by 1.5. Like that. Then another angled one. Like that. And then the final one, we do want to lock on to there. Right, and then enter to finish. So, it looks a bit of a mess. We've got to get this to fit exactly how we want it to. What we're going to have to do here is this measurement is going to be 1. So that's pulled that bit down. Now, then we've got the distance from here to here. These are the ones that are all 6. So we've got this one needs to be 6. So we've got 6 there. We've got 6 there. We've also got the same thing here where we're going from that point to that point. Always make sure that you're drawing it straight up. That also needs to be 6. So you can see that's created that now. Now we've actually got the exact right profile now. The only difference is that the whole thing is too high up the page. So we're going to have to create another dimension constraint that says that the distance from the top of the pen to this bit needs to be 0. And that then brings the whole thing down, because we've put decent constraints on it, has brought the whole thing down, and it should fit nicely into place on there. If you want to, you can tidy up some of those dimensions so they're a bit easier to read, which is what I probably should have done before I printed out my sheet, but there we go. We've got a little bit of snipping to do, because we don't need these lines anymore. All right, and you might find that you've got some constraints that have kind of shown up. Anything that shows up in red, always a good idea to select it and delete it, because it won't work if those constraints are there. Now on the sketch, I've put a sketch fillet on the end of this part. We could do a sketch fillet, or we could do a fillet feature afterwards. If you want to do a sketch fillet, we'll do that now, because it's something we haven't done before. So use sketch fillet and click on this little point. And what that will do, hopefully, is round off. If it won't, or what you can do is click 1, 2 lines. There we go. And it will create a round. Now, at the minute, that round is far too big. It's saying it's trying to put a radius of 5 on there. That's far too big. Will it let us do 1? There, just about. We could have changed that to 0.5 or whatever, as long as it's a small number that it can handle, right? But that's not absolutely essential. I think I'm going to keep that at 1. Right. So that is our sketch complete. It's a little bit fiddly, probably the fiddliest sketch that we've had to deal with so far. But as long as you follow those steps and follow the drawing, then it will work out just fine. Right, we can OK that now. And then the very final step of this is to revolve it. I'm going to put it into isometric first, because as it's flat, I won't see it turn into 3D when we do revolve it. I'm also going to hide these planes. I always get you to hide the planes before you import it into your work, but I think to help you to see what you're doing, it's quite useful. I'm going to press F to fit to bring it in the middle. And then the final exciting bit to make this into 3D is to revolve it. So you go to the revolve tool, make sure that you're solid, not surface. We've got it on new, and then all it's asking for is to select the faces to revolve. So if we just go to sketch 1 or click on that shape that we've just created that's shaded in, then that will spin, except what it's asking for is the axis. So that axis we need to click on and then go to this straight line, which is the axis that runs down the center. And you can see what's happening there. It's rotating that whole sketch that we've drawn around an axis and turning that into a 3D shape, which is our revolved marker pen. And there he is. All right, so you can see how that looks, and is about as accurate as you can get to the actual board pen that we actually use in actual lessons. There may be 1 or 2 slight fillets that you could add into here, but I'm going to leave that up to you. If you do add fillets, it's going to be a very small amount, at 0.1%. All right. But yeah, very, very small amounts if you are going to add fillets onto there. Okay, so that's your board pen. To make the final finishing touches onto this, we would need to make it black. So right click, edit appearance for part 1. You can make it black, or you can make it sort of like a dark grey so you can see the lines a little bit better. And there we go, that is our marker. There is probably not enough time to do the logo because we've got to 14 minutes, so I think we're going to leave it there.